Hello, this is George Chen, Tek LLC, and we want to discussing how to set up a Python and a Scala application development environment with Apache Spark. The computer needed for this class is one PC with Windows 10 or macOS, one Linux machine, preferably with Ubuntu 16.4. That is what I'm using to prepare this class. And you are the one to set up the Ubuntu 16.4. If you do not have a second computer for the Linux machine, there is a Ubuntu 16.4 VirtualBox image available for you to download after you have enrolled into the course. For my environment, there are 32 GB RAM on my Windows 10 laptop as a development Apache Spark workstation and the Linux computer that has 8th Gen Intel 8700, which is i7, 6-core 12-thread CPU with a 64 GB RAM to run Apache Hadoop Hive Spark cluster that has master and worker node running with the Docker, sufficient to simulate production Spark cluster environment where on-premise or in the cloud. We will be writing the Apache Spark application in both Scala and Python. The codes that I have developed for this class are in my GitHub site, and you will be the one writing the same level of the codes at the end of the course. Spark environment setup. We'll be setting up the development environment for us to develop Spark applications in Python, PySpark, and Scala. And the production environment, we'll be using it to submit the Spark jobs to run with. And here is the task list to set up the dev environment. Number one is we need to install JDK. And specifically for Spark, we need to have a JDK 1.8. And in other words, we don't need the highest level of the JDK. For example, JDK 9 or above, Spark is not currently compatible with JDK 9 or above. We also need to download and install Anaconda Python to create a virtual environment with a Python 3.6, which works best with most of the deep learning library as well. And we need to download and install Spark, and we need to download and install Scala, which is optional as Spark contains Scala. We also need to set up the Spylon kernel on Jupyter Notebook, and we will be using Jupyter Notebook for both Python and the Scala coding. And finally, we need to set up Eclipse with a Scala IDE. So first thing first, let's download the JDK 1.8 and 191. So we go to the link provided in the PowerPoint slide, and then go all the way down to find the 191. So right here, so if you have not logged in, you may have to log into the Oracle site, and you have to accept the license agreement, and you're clicking on for the Windows, you're clicking on the JDK AU191 Windows x64. If you have a Mac, then you download the Mac version of the JDK. After you have downloaded, and then when you install, you want to make sure the best is to install a JDK into a folder that has no space, because the space inside the JDK folder later will create problems when you're executing the Java or Scala programs. So if you do install the JDK into the default directory, which usually is the program files or program file x86, then when you set up the Java home, you have to reference the Java home, such as :progra tilde1 if you install the Java JDK into the program files. If you install the JDK into the program files x86, in your Java home, you have to reference :progra tilde2. and slash backslash Java backslash in our cases is a JDK 1.8.0_191. After you have downloaded and installed the JDK 1.8.0_191, you are supposed to set up the Java home and the path. So to do that, you just go to the control panel, System, Advanced, Environment Variables, and then go to this screen, and then you set up the Java_home. In my cases, I install into the default directory of which is the C:\program space files. And the Java home, you need to making sure is you do not using program space files as part of the folder name. You are using the C:\program tilde1 /Java /JDK 1.0._191 and clicking OK. And once you set up the Java home, and you need to append the Java home /bin into the path variable. So you're clicking the path, clicking the edit, and then you just add the new entries, which is the %Java_home %\bin, and then clicking OK. So once you do and do a test, you just open a command prompt. Type Java space versions, and then you have the Java version 1.8.0_191 and Java C. Same thing. So that's good. So you're done with the Java. So move to the next step. Install the Anaconda Python. So next task is to download and install Anaconda Python and create a virtual environment with Python 3.6. Work best with most of the deep learning library as well. And so download and install Anaconda Python 3.x goes through this URL. So here we are at the anaconda.com /distributions, and then you go to the Anaconda main screen and then go scrolling down, and then you select your operating systems. So in my cases, that will be Windows. If you have a Mac or Linux, you have to choosing the appropriate operating system. So I click in Windows. So Python, we need to download whatever the latest version of the Python available at the Anaconda site. So in our cases, we are going to download the 64-bit graphic installer. So clicking the download. So it starts the download. So assuming you have downloaded Anaconda Python 3.7 and you start installation, so I just choosing the default directory, so C:\program data /Anaconda 3, just accept the default and clicking next, and then you just accept the default, do not clicking the add Anaconda to the system path variables, just accepting the default and clicking install. Okay, so your Anaconda install complete. Then go to Anaconda Navigator. So click the window button and clicking the Anaconda 3 and clicking on the Anaconda Navigator. After you going into Anaconda Navigator, and this is the screen you got. So you need to create a virtual environment. So click the environments, and then you have a base, the root environment. So you need to create the new virtual environment. We click the create, and then give a name. So I give a name called Spark, because this is the virtual environment we want to use in connection with the Apache Spark. And then you need to specify what kind of Python version you want to be running under the virtual environment Spark. And then you click the drop-down list, and then we want the 3.6. At this moment, the R is not in the focus. I don't choose any R versions. So, and you notice the virtual environment is actually under the user, and the username, the username here in this window environment is the win10 .conda.env and Spark, and then click the create. So after you create the virtual environment Spark, now you can move on to install the Jupyter Notebook. So you first select the virtual environment Spark, and then click the install the Jupyter Notebook. So you're going back to the Anaconda root screen, the home screen, and then you click the drop-down list. You should see Spark is one of the environments. So click on the Spark. And clicking on the Jupyter Lab. Now that you have set up the Anaconda and create the virtual environment Spark under the Anaconda and with the Python 3.6, and you have installed the Jupyter Notebook under the virtual environment Spark, and now you are ready to launch the Jupyter Notebook. So clicking launch. At the first screen, it will ask you to confirm which is your default web browser. So I choosing Google Chrome, and always using this app for the HTML, and I click OK. So now you're ready. You are now under the Jupyter Notebook, and by default it has a Python 3. You can open the Python 3. Now we will be adding a Python kernel, so you will be able to run both Python 3 and Scala under the Jupyter Notebook. Now we have installed and set up the Python 3, Anaconda Python 3, and create the virtual environment and install the Jupyter Notebook to run Python 3. So we need to move on to install, download, and install Spark. In this case, it's a Windows 10. And the download file is usually a TGZ file. So if you do not have WinZip or WinRAR installed, there are free alternatives of the decompressing software that can expand TGZ compressed file. So you can Google it and you can get to this link. And I have downloaded the 7-zip and for a free alternative of the WinZip. And also, to run Spark on the Windows, you need to set up for Hadoop. So you can easily download a single file called winutil.exe, and you can simply download from this GitHub site. So first thing first, you need to download Spark. So downloading Spark, you just go to the Spark link here, and then making sure is in my courses, I choosing the 3.0 preview 2, and that's December 23, 2019, and also pre-built for Apache Hadoop 2.7. And then you clicking the TGZ file right here. And then you take to one of this page, and then I just click here, right here. So it starts to download. So after you download the Spark 3.0 preview with the Hadoop 2.7.tgz, and then you go to your download folder, right-click the mouse, and open with, I already have a 7-zip, so just open archive. Okay, now you need to extract. Where do I want to extract to? So let's choose in a folder. So C:, and create a new folder. Let's call that folder called Spark. So C:\\Spark. and click OK, and click OK. So now you have download and extracted to a C:\backslash Spark. So next step is to set up the Spark home. After you extract the TGZ files into the C:\backslash Spark, and let's go to the C:, and the Spark folder, and then you see inside is another tar file. So you need to untar it the same way you can using 7-zip. I'm going to using 7-zip to untar the file. So click the file, right mouse click, 7-zip, open archive. So now it's finally I get to the content of the archive, and I click the extract. It asks me if I want to extract to C:\Spark. So I click OK. So it will extract the content. All right. So then when this is done, now it creates a folder. It's called Spark 3.0 preview to Bing Hadoop 2.7. So let's rename this folder. Rename, just simply rename into Spark. Okay, so now the Spark home is C:\Spark and Spark, double Spark. Double click on Spark, and then you get all the subfolders of the Spark distributions. After you have download and install and set up the Spark, and then two things need to do is you also need to download the Hadoop for the Windows. And simply it's really a download a one file. It's called winutil.exe. So you can simply go to this GitHub, or you can simply go to here, because we want is a Hadoop 2.7.1. So you go to this GitHub site, and then you're scrolling down all the way to you select the Hadoop 2.7.1. So clicking on the 2.7.1, and you just clicking on the Bing folder, and then all you need really want is an exe file right here. So clicking on the winutil.exe and clicking on the download. It's a small file, and then you get to that file, show in the folder, and let's copy this file elsewhere. Go to your C drive, and right mouse click and click new, and click the folder, and give the folder name is called WinUtils. So C:\WinUtils, and then double clicking on folder and paste the file inside. Actually, I should create a subfolder called Bing and move this exe file inside the Bing. So it should be in C:\WinUtils Bing directory. By now, you have downloaded and extracted Spark and the winutil.exe, which is a Hadoop utility for Windows. The next task is to set up the Spark home environment variables to pointing to the home dir of Spark. In our case, Spark_home equal to C:\Spark_Spark. Then append the Spark home /Bing to the pass environment variables. Next, set up the Hadoop home environment variable to pointing to Hadoop home dir. In our case, the Hadoop home is pointing to c:\\win_utils. Then you append the Hadoop home \bin to the path environment variables. Then you need to set up the default /tmp/hive directory in that Spark needs. That means in the Windows, for example, you need to create a folder by open a command windows as an administrator, and you create a folder is a c:\tmp/hive. Then set the permission by Hadoop home \bin/win_utils.exe followed by the Linux command chmod-r777 c:\tmp. Lastly is you need to point the %tmp% and the %temp% and %tmp%, those two temporary environment variables, to the c:\tmp. Then you are done with the Spark setup. So now let's do that one by one. So inside the control panel, go to System and then clicking Advanced Environment Variables. So you need to set up the Hadoop home. In my cases, it will be c:\win_utils. And then you also need to set up the Spark home. In our cases, it will c:\spark_spark. Additionally, for the path variables, you need to append the Spark home \bin and the Hadoop home \bin to the path variable. So it's in the search path. And lastly is pointing TMP directory, the environment variable, to c:\tmp. Same thing is a TMP directory is also pointing to the same c:\tmp. Okay, so now you open the command windows. Run as administrator. Okay, so I have already created the c:\tmp, and inside I have a hive created. So I have a c:\tmp/hive. Even the hive inside that's the directory is really nothing inside. So the next step you need to do is to set the change mod for that 777 for the c:\tmp. So what you need to do is % Hadoop home \bin/win. By the way, you don't really need to specify the full path. It's already in the search path. But I enter the full path anyway. So %Hadoop _home %bin/win_util.exe and then chmod-r /r 777 c:\tmp. Okay, so once this is done, you are done. So let's test it to run the Spark shell. Since the Spark executable, the bin directory is already in the search path, so you just enter the one of the executable called Spark shell from anywhere. Okay, so you're inside the Spark shell and you notice the Spark shell tell you some information that is important. You notice the version of the Spark that is running on the computer is 3.0.0 -preview 2. And you notice the Scala, the language version is a 2.12.10, and also tell you the JDK versions. Okay, so let's do the hello world. So declare a variable. That variable is a string variable, and assign the initial value to be hello world. Okay, so that variable called hello world contains the value hello space world. Then you can, let's print it out. You obviously print out hello world. Then you can quit the Spark shell by colon. There are some other tasks we need to do. That one of the tasks is to install a library, a Python library is called Find Spark, that is needed for a standalone Python script or Jupyter notebook to access the Spark library. So since we already have created a Python 3 virtual environment called Spark, as that has Python 3.6 and Jupyter notebook installed. So here what we do. We go into the virtual environment Spark by running the command called conda space activate Spark. And for the first time, let's upgrade update the PIP to be current. And then you simply run pip space install find Spark. So let's start from beginning. So now we need to go inside. So clicking the window button, go to Anaconda 3 64-bit and Anaconda prompt, and then right mouse click the more and run as administrator, just to avoid any permission issues. So click yes. So you are now inside the Anaconda command line. So first thing is you need to run conda So now we are inside the Spark virtual environment. You notice the command prompt starting with a Spark in front of it. The first thing what we do is we run pip, update the pip. So in pip install pip -- upgrade. Okay, so it looks like the PIP is already up current. So now the next one is PIP install find Spark. Okay, so find Spark has successfully been installed. So let's test it. Python import, and then to run it is called find spark.init. All right, it works. Next is to install Spyline library for Jupyter Notebook to run Scala commands inside Jupyter Notebook. So to do that, you again open the Anaconda command prompt as administrator and run conda activate Spark. So you make sure you do this inside the virtual environment Spark. Then you run pip install spyline-kernel. And then you create a kernel spec for Jupyter Notebook by Python space m spyline_kernel install -- user. Okay, so we're already inside the Anaconda command prompt, and this Anaconda command prompt already run under administrator. So all we need to do is we really need to pip install spyline-kernel. So Spylon kernel has been installed. So next step is to create a kernel spec for the Spylon kernel to show up as a selection choice inside the Jupyter notebook by running this command: Python space -m space Spylon underscore kernel space install space -- user. So this is done. So now let's go to the Jupyter notebook to see it. Click Window button and click the Anaconda and go to Anaconda Navigator. So now you are inside the Anaconda Navigator. The first thing is you need to select the Spark virtual environment, not the base root. Okay, so now you are under the Spark. Then launch the Jupyter notebook. Click the launch. So you're inside the Jupyter notebook, and then when you click in the new, you should have two items. One is a Python 3, which is original there, and also you notice there is a Spylon kernel as well. So if you click the Python 3, then you should be able to import find Spark. Find spark.init. So from now on, you can import the Spark library, the PySpark library. So now let's go back to the Jupyter notebook. Let's try to see if we can run the Scala code. So clicking the new and clicking open the Scala Spylon kernel. Okay, so now this is the Spylon kernel. So we have to wait until kernel, right now is kernel starting, so kernel is ready, and then you type. So initializing Scala interpreter. The initialization takes some time, so it is done. So right now, let's print it out. So it worked. So now the next task is to download Scala IDE. We'll be using Eclipse with Scala plugin. So to download the Scala IDE, go to this website, http://scala-ide.org. And for this instance, we're going to download the Scala IDE Eclipse for the Windows 64. So we are on this website, and then we going to clicking on the Windows 64-bit for the IDE. Download complete. So we go to the download folder and we have the IDE zip files. We copy to elsewhere. So goes to C:, and create a new folder called Scala. Double click on Scala and place the zip file inside. So double click on zip file and then clicking extract and extract all is going to accept the, so going to the Scala, let's say C:\Scala and IDE and clicking extract is going to extract into C:\Scala/IDE. Now the Eclipse, the Scala IDE has been extracted under the C:\Scala IDE folder, and then inside there's a subfolder called Eclipse. Double clicking on Eclipse, then you have all the files and folders that come with the Eclipse with a Scala plugin. So inside the Eclipse folder, you will see there is a executable file called eclipse.exe. Double click on it. And then it will ask you to have a workspace that is going to store your artifacts, including your Scala source code. So it's going to be, by default, it's going to be in the C:\user/win10/workspace. So I would like to recreate this folder just under the C drive, create a new folder, workspace. So it's going to be in the C: workspace. And use this as a default and do not ask again. So just click on it and launch. So now you're inside the Scala IDE and ready for your Scala project development. So from this point forward, you shall have a working Apache Spark complete with Python and Scala development IDE. And also you have a Jupyter notebook with Python 3.6 and Scala kernel and a standalone Eclipse IDE. So you are now ready for software application development with Python and Scala with Apache Spark.